Now we welcome to this festive edition of the 9-Yard Line, Jon Zaghloul of SportsTalkChicago.com. Jon, obviously the season not going to be a playoff season. And obviously, outside of Justin Fields, there's not a lot of interest. But is there anyone outside of the quarterback that you're really interested in seeing develop or improve here over these final 3 games?
Somebody I'm really watching, actually, is David Montgomery first. David Montgomery's had a really good season. It's been kind of quiet because of the injury, came back, and now he has 668 rushing yards, averaging more than 4 per carry. Want to see him get more carries. I know that's been a problem with Matt Nagy pretty much his entire tenure here in Chicago, trying to find ways to utilize his running back position. So I want to see David Montgomery and see what he could do. Robert Quinn, too. Many don't know, or many aren't really paying attention. Robert Quinn may break the single-season sack record for the Bears. Richard Dent has it at 17.5. He's creeping up there. With the extra game, he might end up getting there. And that would certainly be historic in what is otherwise a very forgettable season.
Everyone I've asked who's come on this show, I've always wanted to get their idea of what they'd like to see out of Justin Fields toward the end of his rookie year. How about you? What are you looking out of the last 3 games?
I want to see Justin Fields develop correctly and at least get a game plan that caters to him. I mean, all year it's kind of been backwards and forwards. We've seen a couple of steps forwards, a couple of steps backwards. I mean, the Browns game was horrible, and ever since then it's gotten a bit better progressively. But we need to see better performance out of him. I'd love to see him take care of the ball more. I'd love to see him make sure that he finds ways to make good decisions. Sometimes he makes an errant throw here and there, and that's going to be a rookie mistake. We all understand that. But it'd be nice over these next couple of games to really master his craft a bit more. Then come into next year, potentially new coach, new scheme, somebody who's going to cater to him. We could really see him develop. So these next couple of games, I'll be looking out for that. And also his resilience. I mean, it's pretty darn tough to know that you may have a lame duck head coach and your team is in the gutter, just eliminated from playoff contention. May not be easy to pad up, suit up, and go out every Sunday and try and do your best. So I just want to see how he can react to the entire situation, because things could only get better from this point for him. So these games and these situations like this are going to prepare him for what's to come.
As you said, most likely Matt Nagy is gone. But what about Ryan Pace? Do you believe he may be out the door at the end of this season?
I have a very sick feeling, Larry, that won't be the case. I'd like to see him go. There's really no reason to keep him. He's made too many mistakes over his tenure here in Chicago. He's been here since 2013, under 500 record, couple of head coaches. 9 different players have started at quarterback under Ryan Pace. Think about that for a second. I mean, that's worse than Cleveland Browns type stuff we're talking about here. That's Ryan Pace. That's his track record here in Chicago. He should go. Great scout. I love the moves he's made. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, but he's made the wrong picks at the top of the draft. And, that's just, it's not tolerable. And he's made wrong picks when it comes to the head coaching hires, too. He has to go. I'm scared he might get reassigned and stay somewhere within the Bears. And you know what? If he stays away from football operations, that's fine. If you want him to be your head scout, or you want him to go look around at guys who you're going to pick in the 5th round, sounds great. But other than that, there's really no need to keep him.
Do you think there's any chance the Bears would restructure their front office? Let's just say put somebody above the general manager, maybe something similar to what the Cubs did when they brought in Theo Epstein.
I could definitely see that. And I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens. Maybe you restructure Ted Phillips, who's really a business guy, not necessarily a football guy, put him somewhere else in the front office, bring in somebody who's a real president to preside over Ryan Pace and have the final say-so over what goes on. I'd be more at ease knowing at least somebody is going to make sure they do that. But we're going to have to see how it plays out. Obviously, lots of questions for this Bears team. I mean, Pace and Nagy were supposed to be fired a year ago, and yet they're still here, and this team's continuing to fall more and more. We're just going to have to see what happens by the end of the season.
Jon, I guess the next big topic is, who do you hire as a head coach? Is there anyone you have in mind, or what characteristics you think would make a head coach come here and succeed, especially in the development of Justin Fields?
I don't see anybody in specific right now. There have been a lot of names floated out there, and, I'm fine with whomever really the Bears have. I don't have a strong opinion. What I have a strong opinion on, though, is the coach's ability to conform to Justin Fields. For years, we've seen Matt Nagy with different quarterbacks, 4 different ones, who cannot work in his system. And that's a case of Matt Nagy not conforming to them. In the NFL today, if you want to have a quarterback and an offense that runs well, you need to conform to your quarterback, much like John Harbaugh has done with Lamar Jackson. Great example. I bring this up all the time. Lamar was supposed to be a running back or a wide receiver or a tight end, and John Harbaugh said, no, you know what? We're going to cater our offense to you. We're going to switch things up. And sure enough, it's worked. I know this year Lamar's kind of regressed, but that's on him, not necessarily on the scheme. The scheme worked. So for the Bears, when they're looking at a head coaching hire, they have to really make sure that they're willing to develop Justin Fields and let him be himself. Cater to him. Don't sit there and make him fit into some system that, really is arbitrary and may not work out. We've seen it with Matt Nagy. That stuff needs to stop. That's old school NFL mentality. The new school mentality today is you have to conform if you're a coach, and you have to cater to your player, not the other way around. That's what the Bears need in a head coach more than anything.
Few young players I'm going to ask you about. First is Darnell Mooney. Do you see him being a potential number one receiver for Justin Fields moving forward, seeing how they have connected at times during this season?
I love their connection. I thought it's been very positive. He's taken a real big step. Last year I was a little bit hesitant to call Mooney this great player. I mean, hey, he's a fifth-round pick, only at about 500 receiving yards. That's nice, but, we really didn't know how much further he'd go. We thought maybe that'd be his ceiling, maybe he'd get a bit better, but obviously Justin Fields likes him. And in the NFL, if you're a wide receiver and you got a quarterback who loves you and is willing to target you more often than other players, then you're going to get the football and you're going to be productive. I mean, think about Allen Robinson. He hasn't been Justin Fields' preferred target, and his numbers have obviously taken a dip. Cole Kmet's another guy who numbers have gone up. I mean, he drops the ball a little bit too much for my liking, but at the end of the day, he's the number 2 wide receiver on this team as well. So those are a couple of guys where, because of Justin Fields is comfortable with them, they're going to put up good numbers. And if they continue to stick around and Fields sticks around, I could see a great connection developing between him and Mooney, and then also him and Kmet.
Let's go to a young player we saw on defense for the first time in 2021. That's Thomas Graham Jr. How impressed were you with his performance, and does he now factor maybe into the plans to start across from Jalen Johnson maybe in 2022?
He should be there. I fully agree. I don't know why he's been on the bench. It's like this well-kept secret, like the Bears always had him and they never used him. He played very well, in my opinion, on the Monday night game in which, it's primetime football, first game ever, and you got all your guys out sick with COVID. And he comes in and does a really good job. I mean, even think about the Vikings offense itself. The Bears outgained them. Justin Jefferson was a non-factor. Kirk Cousins didn't even throw for 100 yards. So that goes to show that the secondary, and especially Graham, had a really good game. I think he should definitely factor into future plans. And there's another guy where these next couple of games are really going to matter to him. I really hope that he at least starts or gets significant time, even if everybody comes back healthy. Because these next couple of games, when you're eliminated from playoff contention, when nothing really matters, time to find out guys like him to see if they're willing and if they're ready to stay on this team come next year, when you could have new management, a new coach, and a whole new culture in the building in Hallis Hall.
John, you'll be watching it over the next couple of games as the Bears complete a 2021 season with no playoffs. Thank you so much for joining us here on the 9 Yard Line.
Thank you, Larry. Really appreciate it.